Hi, my name is Kwa. I'm a realtor that specializes in buying and selling home in Orange, California. Today, I kind of have a special episode. It's something that recently happened to me, and I couldn't get off my mind. I've been I've been going through it in my head so much that I thought, it's best to just put a video out for it so that uh, maybe, after the video came out, then I don't have to think about it anymore. Anyway, this event, led me to my very first firing of my buyers. Something happened that it leads me to have to give up on the buyer that I've been working with for a while. So all started back in 2022. So there were these buyers that was a referral, kind of like a friend of a friend that referral to me, and I started working with them back in 2022. Back then they're not ready to buy yet because some of the down payment were got stuck. Like they have business in other country and they can't kind of like liquidate them fast enough to be able to to use it as a down payment. So what happened was I started working in 2022. We looked at some houses and then after that, like we know that it couldn't make it, so we decided to wait for a while. So throughout the 2002 to 2024, I follow up with them occasionally, like once every month or two, try to educate them, keep them updated with the current event in the real estate industry. And during that time, like interest rate went from like 3 to 4 to 5. It's been increasing, and now in 2024 it went all the way up to 7, and then max at like 7.5, and then it did recently drop back down. So what happened is back in May of this year, 2024, they were ready because they got all their finance in order and they have the money to down, plus they're thinking about putting a really large down payment so that the monthly mortgage is low. So they were ready. So we start looking in May, and we looked at a couple of houses, did a few offers, and most of them got rejected. So they were a bit down, and I totally understand. I did work with like some other buyers. Like sometime my longest time that working with one buyer from beginning to end is 5 years. So I understand the frustration of getting your offer rejected. But then one day I got a call from them. So they called me up and they said, "Oh, they saw this coming soon listing. It's probably sent out from my system, but it's coming soon." So the reason that they were excited because it's the only thing that uh, there's only like because of us coming soon, it's only listed on the MLS and it's not on Zillow and Redfin yet, so nobody see it yet. And all it does is it has a sign in front with the listing agent contact. So they called me. They told me that they reach out to the listing agent, and the only way that the listing agent will show them the house is if she represent them as a buyer agent as well. And at that time when I was talking to them, I was kind of like kind of like feel uneasy in my stomach because like, oh, so what's gonna happen? Are they just gonna go with the listing agent and just gonna like then all my work is like it's completely like turned to nothing. So I continued that conversation, and I ended up they said, oh, but then they want me to represent them, or they want me to help them with the paperwork and all the behind the scenes stuff because they are not very good with speak English. They need translation, and they need me to look over all the stuff on all the paperwork to make sure that everything is fine. So they said the only way that they can see the house is if they work with the listing agent, but they still want my help in the back end so that I can kind of like watch out for any red flag for them, and they agreed to pay me a commission. So I'm like, well, if that's what they want, and I can do that, but the only way that I can do that, I told them, is they have to sign the buyer broker agreement. So the buyer broker agreement mean that they pay me a certain amount of money even if they close on this house or any house within the next 6 months. And after a day or so, they thought about it, and then they said, okay, go ahead, like we're gonna sign a contract and you can help me with this transaction. So I'm like, okay. Then I send them the contract, they sign it, I have the contract, I'm confident to start continue to help them. So we did, and then we schedule a showing with the listing agent. This is like 2 weeks before the house is scheduled to have an open house. So they're the only one, they're like the first person that see this house since it started, since it's popped up on the LS as coming soon. So we went in, we looked through the house. I point out everything that the all the issue with the house to them. I told them, the house is old, and because the owner, like, during this time, the listing agent or the listing and their buyer agent are there too. Like, she's the only person that she represents both sides for them, and I'm just like having the paperwork. So during that time, we went through the house, and then I point out to them, like, everything's old. It's like it haven't been updated for a while. Like, it need new flooring, need new paints, a new kitchen, new bathroom. Everything needs to be updated. The house is good structurally, but everything is old. Everything, like, you know 20 years old. So once they move in, they need to repair all these. And my estimate is it's not going to be less than 100,000 to repair. So it's going to cost them at least 100,000 or more to repair or to upgrade everything. And they know that, they were informed. So after, we were there for like a good 30 minutes, talking back and forth to the agent and discussing among themselves, because the Vietnamese don't have to translate back and forth. And then at the end of it, we agreed that they're gonna they're gonna go forward with the house and open escrow. So the agent was happy, the seller was happy, because they don't have to market the property anymore. So we open up escrow. So escrow open. And I just have to tell you this too. Down the street, there's another house that's similar in size, and it's all upgraded. But the list price for that one is like uh, a good $30,000 more than this one. And in addition to that, that one, it has a lot that's much smaller. It's like around 7,000 square foot lot only. Whereas this house, the lot is like 12,000, so it's close to double the square feet. So most of the value for this property is in the lot, because in Orange County you don't have a lot of listings that are more than 10,000 square feet lot anymore, and those can go easily over a million. And this house only lists for 950, so we're pretty lucky to get into escrow with that price, even though the house is old and it needs like another 100,000 or so to repairs. Anyway, we went into escrow, we opened escrow, we scheduled for the home inspection right away. We scheduled for the termite inspection like right away. I think like within 3 days, we got the home inspector out, the termite guy out, and they did the inspection, and home inspection came back as we expected. Everything is old, like they pointed out there. The only big issue that was found in the inspection report is the furnace not working. And so we spoke with the agent, and she said, the owner can fix that. So that's fine. And then the termite report came back too. And then I think the quote was like around 2,700 to repairs the termite. And technically that is not too bad. I've seen termite reports that came back like 5, 10, even like 20,000+. So this one for 2,700 is not too bad. But for some reason, at this point, the buyers got cold feet, and they start feeling like, oh, they overbidding for this house. So I'm like, no, that's not true. Every house is gonna have termite. When you go in there, if it's an old house, you can have termite issue, and 2,700 fix all the termite is not that bad. And during that time, we were still negotiating with the agent, and she said that she might be able to get the seller to clear the termite too, so he willing to pay for that also. So that wasn't that big of a deal. And for some reason, they came back to me, and they were telling me, oh, even if they fix the termite because it's so old, and it could be like, it could eat into the center of the wood and stuff like that. So even if they clear the termite, it's gonna come back, in a short period of time. But I told them, like, no, that's not the case. Once they clear the termite, they have a warranty period of at least 3 years. And once they clear those, unless you don't upkeep the house, you don't maintain the house nicely, the termite will come back. But if you do, then the chance of it coming back, or it's gonna be like very unlikely. So, and then for some reason, they said, they go back and they said, oh, after they checked the house during the inspection with one of their brother-in-law, like they found out there's more repair than they expected. But I'm like, yeah, but we did told, like, I did inform you that there are more than 100,000 plus in repairs. We know that the reason that you want this house is because the price is not that bad and there's a big lot and you love the lot. That's what you told me. So we're like, so I'm like, wait, why are you guys think what did you guys plan to do? So I during, and then during the day that I was taking my kids to like the dentist and stuff, and they keep on calling me, going back and forth, and then for some reason they're like, oh, so there's so much to fix, there's so much to do, and then can you can you talk to the agent and see if they can lower the price? I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? And they told me, okay, instead of 960, which is the agreed upon price to go into escrow, can you talk to the agent and see if they can lower it to 880? And when I heard that, I'm like, wait a minute, this is crazy. You wanna you wanna ask the seller to drop $80,000 just because you change your mind? I'm like, I can't go back to the agent and ask them that because she's gonna think I'm crazy. And then they're like, and then I even tell them like, we're the only one that see this house. If this house released on the market, somebody's gonna snatch it up right away. And because of that, and the seller know that, and the agent know that, they're not gonna agree to lower the price for $80,000 for apparently no reason. We already know everything up front. So going back and asking them for a $80,000 reduction is it's madness. So and then for some reason they slowly changing their mind like, oh, what about asking them for 900, and then the max they can go is 920? I'm like, no, we can't do that. We already know everything up front, and they're not gonna lower the price for you for $40,000 just because. And then I'm like, okay, let me check with the agent. And I even called the agent, and they told me, yeah, this is what they want to do. I'm like, and then she said, no, they're not going to do it. The seller's going to do it. They already have like people asking them about it, and they're having an offer back up. So there's no reason for them to do it. So I that conversation going back and forth for literally half a day, and at the end I'm telling the buyers like, this house is in a hot market right now. If we're giving up on it right now, somebody's gonna buy it right away. Now, let's say that you cancel it right now, and then in a couple of days somebody buy it at the price like 950, 960. Are you gonna be regretting? They told me yes. I'm like, okay, so why? What are you thinking? Like, what else is there to think? If you're gonna regret losing this house at this price, then why not move forward? But for some reason, at the end of the day, they decided to cancel. So I'm like, okay, let me tell the agent. So she did, I told her, and then she sent over the cancellation, and I tell them to sign it, and then she got it back, so we canceled. And 2 days after we canceled cancellation, cancel the escrow, I went on vacation. I went to Cancun having my summer vacation with my kids, so I went for a week. And even during that week, like in the middle of the week, they call me up and say, oh, I still have some paperwork from escrow that I need to fill out. Do I still need to fill out? I'm like, no, since the transaction already canceled, you can just ignore it. And so they said, okay, then they ignore it. So a week later, I came back, and then one day I was taking my daughter to the library to do some homework, and then I saw this listing popping up on my phone, and it's a really good price at a really good price point, and it seemed really nice. So I texted over to them, and I got a text back, and I was reading the text. I'm like, wait, what's going on? Because the text is like, oh, during while you're on vacation, like the day after you left for vacation, we saw these two houses and it's really nice, so we asked our sister-in-law to submit two offers for it. I'm like, wait a minute, you asked, like, in my head I'm like, wait a minute, so you asked somebody else to offer some houses for you while you're still working with me with a buyer broker agreement? So I'm like, I'm shocked when I see that text message. So I pick up the phone and call him right away. I'm like, I ring up the phone, I call him like, oh, I speak in Vietnamese, like, oh, hi, like, uh, can you explain what's happening? Like, I don't understand. And then she's like, oh yeah, yeah, we saw this house, like, right after you left, we saw these two houses, and because you're on vacation, we don't want to bother you, so we just asked our sister-in-law to write offers for us. And then I was like, oh, but you have an agreement with me that no matter what house you buy, you're gonna have to pay me commission, because I don't want you to go around, and then working with like the seller or the agent and kick me out, and then whenever you need me, you call me back. That's not how it works. Like, we have a trust that we need to upkeep. Like, we can't do this. We need to be transparent. And then I'm like, oh, she said, oh, she don't, she didn't know it was only for that house. She thought it was only for that house, and that's why, she asked her sister-in-law. And then, okay. And then during the conversation, we actually found out that, you know, the house, the house that we cancel on, right after it cancel, the agent got another offer, a cash offer, and the cash offer closed in 4 days. So right after we cancel escrow, somebody snatched it up and and offer it and close it within 4 days. So then during that conversation, even though they didn't get the offer with the sister-in-law didn't get accepted, so they still in the market and looking. And then for some reason, she started blaming me for not pushing her hard enough to buy that house. And in my head, I'm like, what the, like, are you serious? I spent, like, this is in my head. I didn't tell her directly, but this is in my head. Like, wait, are you serious? Like, I spent more than half a day trying to convince you not to give up on the house. I even told you that if you give up on the house and somebody buy it, like, right away, will you regret it? And you told me yes, and you still tell me to cancel. So how can you come back and telling me now that I didn't push you hard enough? And so I'm like, oh my god, this is so bad. Like, this is in my head. I'm like, oh my god, this is so bad. And so, like, during, like, at the end of the call, I'm like, okay, like, Jay, well, that's what we call, like, like an older person, like an old female in Vietnamese, like, Jay, uh, can you please talk to your husband and let me know if you still want to work with me from now on. Let me know, please. And if you don't want to work with me anymore, just let me know so I can plan. I don't want to just sit there and wait. Like, either you work with me and we continue to look, or you don't work, like, and continue on contract, by a broker agreement that you sign, or you don't want to work with me, then we can, terminate that contract and go our separate way. And for 3 weeks, I didn't hear a beep from them. I didn't hear anything back from them for 3 weeks. No text, no phone call, nothing. And I'm like, okay, I guess they chose not to work with me, right? But then after 3 weeks, I got a call back from them, and they're like, oh, I have this house down the street from the other house that, we cancel. Can you help me with it? And I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. They ghost me for 3 weeks, and now for some reason they come back to me and they ask for help. And when I look at that house, like, I look up the information for that house, it seemed, to me, it's like it's listed for really low, like, because the other house that they cancel on was like, they sold for 950, right? The house across the street listed for only 875. So even though the lot is smaller, but, with the 875, it's like $75,000 lower. So I know there's gonna be a lot of competition, and in addition to that, it just came out on the market for like a day. So I'm like, if they, I can't trust them, then I can't work with them. So I told them, no, I can't do it. And in the back of my head, I'm like, also, like, wait a minute, you have a sister-in-law. At the beginning, when you worked with me, you told me that you don't want your family member to know about it. That's why you chose me to work with you, and I'm fine with that. But during my vacation, you asked your sister-in-law to write offers for you, and she did. So she know about it. And then for 3 weeks, you ghost me and didn't even explain to me why you don't want to work with me or you want to work with me anymore. And then now, you telling me to help you write an offer for a house that your sister-in-law could have done it. So what's going on here? So in my head, I'm like, no, I don't think I can do it anymore. And on top of all that, they blame me for losing the other house. So I'm like, don't forget it, And then I text them. I'm like, sorry, I'm too busy. So yeah, kind of like technically I'm firing them. Like, sorry, I'm too busy. I can't work with you anymore. Because the thing is like, even if I agree to work with them, I cannot trust them anymore, and they broke the trust already. So how else can I do? Like, if I work with somebody and I can't trust them, it's best to part way, because the person that referred her to me is a friend of the family. And if I continue to work with her and more issue come up, it's not gonna work out. And it's probably gonna drag something else too. So that's the very first time that I actually fire somebody. My fire by buyers. I can't work with them like that. And the reason I put this story out there is just so other seller or buyer out there, I hope or wish that when you work with your agent, please be transparent. Most of the agent, they try their best to be transparent to you, and we hope that buyer and seller are doing the same. For me personally, I'm like, I don't mind you work with other people, but please don't work with other people while you're working with me. Like, even if I told every single client that I have, like, even though you signed this agreement, even though there's a term in the agreement, whenever you want to terminate it, just let me know ahead of time, and then you can go and do something else with somebody else. Like, if it's a listing, if our agreement is for 3 months and 1 month in and you don't like it anymore, please let me know before you start looking for another agent to replace me. And as a buyer, as the same thing, please don't do that. I'm so glad that now the lawsuit came out and will require all the buyers to sign the buyer broker agreement, because at least now we can be upfront in it. Before that, like, I know there are some country, or some state that require the form, and some they don't. And especially in here in Orange County with the Vietnamese community, we most of us, like, I'm pretty sure like 99% of Vietnamese agent out there haven't used this buyer broker agreement before. But now, at least now we have to. So now we have to be in front of it. But all I wanted is for everybody to be honest. If you want to work, that's great. If you don't want to work anymore, let me know beforehand. Don't one day want to work with me, and then in the same time trying to have somebody else. That we pay in commission, and if the transaction does happen, we don't get anything. So all the thing that we work upfront is technically is for nothing. If we start charging $50 $100 showing for every single house that we show, then you're gonna be complaining more. And so anyway, I just want to put it out there. Hopefully this is the last time I'm telling this story. And if you like this video and see some value in it, please hit the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel. Hopefully I'll have more videos like this in the future, and I'll probably gonna go back to putting more tips on a weekly basis. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.